Greetings, obsessive listeners. I am your favorite host, Carl. And today we are here to tell you a story about a feeling that seeps into every soul. Love. I myself am an expert ever since I met my other half. It split from me in a moment of osmosis. We battled for 10 days and 12 nights. We have never left since. It was perfect. The story you are about to hear is about a similar event. We hope you enjoy Winged Lion and Stonefish.
Sir, there is a winged lion in the trash pit.
Part of the reason Elleran had hired Livy as his assistant wizard in training, or rather allowed her to remain in the lighthouse he tended because she showed up, was because of her reserved dignity and succinct manner. She was quiet as a sea breeze and just as calming, which is why he stood in front of his workstation and simply blinked at her.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Winged lion, trash pit.
She folded her hands in front of her primly.
May I have a potion to do something about it?
You don't mean a griffin.
He pulled up his goggles and lowered the fire in the burner.
Like a regular one?
He demonstrated the size he meant by holding his hands in front of him as if to pick up one of the house cat-sized creatures that screeched day and night when a beached whale or a dead mermaid washed up on shore.
I do not.
She spread her arms as wide as she could, indicating a very large animal. Her composure began to break, and her hands were trembling.
And not a griffin, even a large one.
That would be problematic enough on its own. Large griffin, but not as bad as a thundering roar rocked the tower, and Livy squeaked with fear.
Right. Bring a transformation potion.
The winged lion continued to roar as it clawed at the stone walls of the enclosed pit. It beat blue and green wings, but it was unable to fully spread them in the little space at the center of the tower, where it found itself trapped.
There's a winged lion in the trash pit.
How do you suppose it got in?
It's in the trash pit, Livy.
I suppose it must have flown in from the roof, probably glided down like the griffins and seagulls, and got caught.
But what's it doing here? Lions are not native to this coast.
Especially not one with wings. I suppose the sailors...
The beast roared again and ran and flapped at the wall, making it about 10 feet up the tower wall before gravity pulled it down.
And what are we going to do?
Are you asking me, sir?
You're right. Right. The obvious solution is...
How did unwanted things in the trash area usually get taken away? Well, they cast the ritual to turn the rubbish heap into a Charybdis and consume the lot.
Let's cast the Charybdis ritual.
Tried that.
Oh.
Elleran was disappointed. He'd thought it was a very good idea. When he looked out the window again and looked past the pacing lion ruffling its feathers, he saw only barren stone.
Right. It flew out of the mouth.
It did indeed, sir. Should we try that potion?
Yes, let's.
Elleran peered around the kitchen and saw the chicken he'd slaughtered yesterday morning, since it was his night to cook.
We'll put the potion in that meat, and then we'll drop it down to the beast.
Yes! The warriors in the stories always use leather bags for it so the beast doesn't know.
Brilliant!
Elleran was actually sort of excited about this. He was doing the things adventurers did. He had the flittering notion that Livy might be impressed by him and immediately put such silliness from his mind. There was a lion in the trash pit after all. Very pressing concern. As they executed their plan, Elloren's high spirits returned.
You know, it will turn into a mackerel and die, but if we don't Charybdis the body, it ought to return to its natural state.
The fellows in town will never believe the two of us could kill a lion.
With wings. Well, it's not exactly honorable means.
He tied the rope to the brush end and the basket with the potion-filled chicken on the other. She dropped the basket out the window. They both stood back while Elloren handled the broom. Livy giggled suddenly. It was a strange, girlish sound he'd never heard from the woman before.
You look like you're fishing.
He smiled, amused himself, delighted by her laughter, and suddenly desperate to hear the sound again.
Maybe we should go fishing for dragons next, Livy.
Too small. Let's try a sea monster and really test our mettle.
It was at that moment the winged lion pounced. They both screamed with fear as the broom was yanked out of the wizard's hands. Together, they clambered away from the window, and each grabbed for the other and held tight. Before the window, the winged lion tore the chicken to shreds. Livy hummed and moved away first.
Strange instinct.
Elloren released her arms and moved away, brushing his tunic as if touching her had infected it.
Oh, yes, I guess. Grasping at straws.
There was a particularly juicy sound, and then a flash of light. Both of them rushed to the window and leaned out to see the lion transform. Its jaws were wet with the pink potion, and the glowing was definitely magic, and the magic was definitely working. But the lion was not transforming.
Elloren, the lion is not transforming.
I noticed.
The potion spattered across the courtyard and all over the winged lion's paws. It even started licking the potion, but no transformation.
It's protected somehow?
Maybe it was a bad batch.
No, it's definitely working. It's, macrolizing the stones.
A naturally occurring charm? Perhaps... Wait, did you say...
Livy noticed bits of stone wiggling and flopping as the potion sprayed on them. They both realized the danger just as the tower rumbled and the kitchen wall under their arms cracked. The winged lion was horrified and flapped around the tiny courtyard, whimpering and wailing. The stony fish emerging from the walls were bigger than it was and gasping for air and smashing stone with their tails as they sought water. Livy pulled Elloren towards the door that led down toward the town.
We have to get out.
Elloren pulled her up the stairs toward the workshop. They both stopped in the middle of the hallway, holding each other's hand. He pointed up.
We can't let the eternal light falter. Someone might be navigating even now.
The tower isn't stable. If it collapses, the eternal light will go out and we'll be trapped or crushed.
Yes, but,
maybe it wasn't crumbling. Maybe he had a potion to fix it. Maybe there was a spell in one of the tomes. If he stayed cool and collected, she would know he was a true wizard, and she would be more impressed by him and not leave once she had mastered all his spells. Then there was a great cracking sound from below.
No, you're right, Livy. Let's go.
And they fled towards the tower door. They had not gotten far, just to the base of the stair, when Livy stopped running and simply stared.
How did...
Elloren couldn't understand it either. He was staring at his first floor. Just outside the door, through the big, welcoming windows, he could see the cart he could enchant to carry them to safety. But between them and the cart, across the parlor that was designed to serve customers and stranded sailors and had a little curtained-off part where Livy had been sleeping for a year, there was...
How did the ocean get in the front parlor?
The water bubbled from the trash pit, flooding through the demolished wall. The stone fish swam happily over the shop counter. One of them nibbled at Livy's boots, which floated in the roiling water. The winged lion, hampered by its wings, paddled for its life toward them and the dry land of the stairs.
It's not going farther than the parlor. How was that door holding in the water?
Some manner of magic. Someone must have cursed me.
His heart hammered in his chest. He hadn't known he'd had such enemies. He hadn't realized he was important enough. He would have liked to know, mostly so he could boast about it. He certainly didn't know any protection charms stronger than the ones he'd already cast.
And he ran.
The real tragedy is that she was trapped here too. Livy, who was too quiet and lovely to have any enemies. She would drown, or be crushed, or...
The lion is coming this way.
To the workshop? The winged lion did not have a better time escaping the inside of the tower. The windows were not designed to allow a beast of that size to sneak past, and it was annoyed further by being wet and cold. Or at least that's what Levy and Eleran decided from the comfort of the workshop. The door was barricaded against said winged lion. The window to the trash heap was open so they could take measurements of the water, which was rising. They hadn't determined a pattern yet.
I only have an inch this time.
Slowing down. Good. Eleran thumbed through the table of contents of the big spell book. Flying carpet?
Absolutely not.
Why not? He had rather liked the idea of a flying carpet. She would sit in the front, and he would put his arms around her to grip the front tassels and steer. It would be romantic.
We only have the one carpet, and it certainly hates both of us.
She pointed at the threadbare thing in front of the hearth fire. The eternal flame was the only thing not yet affected, but all the orbs lighting the hallways danced with strange colors, making the world hazy and dreamy. The potions on his shelves rattled, in particular the ones for detecting powerful spells. The frogs had, en masse, leaped from the tower windows and sprouted bat wings until they hit the ground outside the tower walls. Most of them splattered dead anyway, not quite smart enough to glide, even when given the wings.
Eleran, suppose it wasn't an enemy who cursed the tower.
It has to be, though I can't for the life of me think who. I never suspected I was so vile.
You're not. Everyone adores you.
Oh, it's jealousy, you think? Eleran smirked at the idea. Probably one of the cantankerous old ones had misunderstood a female apprentice and thought he'd stumbled somehow into a lover.
I wonder if the thing holding the water in might not be your own protection charms.
Well, even if that's the case, the water had been enchanted. They'd run the tests. How did it get here?
How did the winged lion?
It flew down? I don't follow. What are you getting at?
Well, suppose the transformation potion didn't work because it was a beast already under a transformation spell.
Okay, that would explain why our potion didn't work and how it got into the pit in the first place.
But what would cause that transformation that also would create so much water?
Something to transform and to create water.
Invite water, conjure water?
Bigger. Something that saturated the trash pit with chaotic magic. She sat up straight suddenly and looked like she'd swallowed her lips.
Do you suppose seagulls have dreams?
What? What a silly question at a time like, oh.
A wish potion would have that localized effect.
On the trash pit. I didn't make any wish potion. Those are, illegal.
Right. And such a thing wouldn't affect seagulls and stones. They don't have dreams.
It would have to be an incredibly powerful potion, and, once again, very illegal to make, because people use them to wish for things they ought not, be it the death of all enemies or eternal life, maybe the love of a quiet and dignified woman who lived in the parlor of a certain lighthouse/wizard tower. It made unnatural things happen when a spell like that was used, like winged lions and stone fish. I wouldn't have made such a thing not to use on you. I wouldn't even ever.
I wasn't accusing you. I saw the spell out on your desk one night.
Right. Well, I was referencing it in a very old one that probably wouldn't even work, but also I wasn't going to use it, and I didn't. You made it.
I did. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for...
What did you wish for?
I didn't. I was going to. But it's the same as a love potion, only this one would last, and that's... Well, it's not right. It wasn't right. You know. So I threw it in the trash heap, and I didn't think it would do any damage.
What is the first thing I taught you about potions? You have to make sure it's defunct before you discard it.
Livy nodded, her mouth twisting with shame and her eyes filling with tears.
I know, but I made it in the kitchen, and I didn't have the lemon weed and dill to disenchant it, and it was late at night, and I didn't want to wake you because you'd fallen asleep over your books again, and I was worried if I saw you like that I wouldn't have the courage or the strength to actually destroy the damned thing. And it was much stronger than it had any right to be. I thought since nothing sentient went in the trash pit, well, how was I to know that seagulls and stones had aspirations?
Well, I'm very disappointed.
Elleran rubbed his chin. He wished he was able to grow a long, thick beard like a proper wizard. That would have given her the confidence in him to have asked for his advice and wisdom, and then, even though it would have broken his heart, he would have told her how to win the heart of her sailor or her shop boy. As it was, he had to think of something to say to both reassure her and make sure she didn't try such a stupid thing again. His silence infuriated her.
I didn't mean to tear your damn tower apart. I just wanted you to notice me.
The wish was... Elleran sat straighter and looked at her. His mouth opened and closed as he stared at her, looking a bit like the stone fish. You wished for me?
Well, in the end, no. It didn't seem right or fair, so...
She made a gesture like chucking an invisible potion out the window.
Step back. Thank you. You were going to wish for me?
When I was a shop girl in town, you were always very nice to me, and so charming. And the other girls laughed at me because who wants a wizard who can't even grow a beard? But I did. I do. So I came out here to try to impress you.
The timer sparked, and Livy went to the window to take another measurement of the water depth. She pulled up the dial.
A whole 12 inches that time, 20 meters up from the trash pit, and it'll come right through this window. Next time it rises, most likely. Another 10, and it will flood the eternal flame. Not very impressive at all.
It truly is very impressive. I mean, that spell was far outside my ken. I couldn't figure out more than half the substitutions. That's why I didn't use it on you.
You mean it?
I've never been very good at substitutions.
Not that part, Elleran.
What? Yes, I mean, it was more of an intellectual lecture. I wouldn't want to force anyone to like me, but I thought about carefully wording the wish.
What were you going to say?
Elleran still remembered clearly and confessed shyly.
If there's any love in Livy's heart for me, let her tell it to me, and let it grow threefold when I tell her about the true love in mine.
Very clever. Ensures it goes both ways. Nice touch, yes.
What were you going to say?
He held her hands in front of her, wriggling her fingers together.
Do you suppose we could?
He leaned a little nearer, trying to indicate that he wanted to kiss her, but in the end he rocked back, uncertain of how to proceed.
I mean, I'd like to.
She agreed, but stayed where she was, hands folded in front of her, smiling at the floor. The winged lion, which was actually just a seagull, roared in the hallway outside. They both startled and looked at the door.
Let's figure out kissing later.
Oh, is kissing what you meant? I thought...
Wait, what did you think?
A good deal more than... there's no time for that now, man. Lemonweed and dill, if we chuck it all into the courtyard, can we use the water down there as the base of a cleansing potion?
Even after they nullified the wishing spell, it took them most of the day to clear out the courtyard. They'd used mermaid song to grow coral in the gaps of the tower, since the stonefish could not be coaxed back into place. Neither of them had the heart to feed such big, unusual fish to Charybdis, so they used badger fur and dragon claw to dig a little moat around the tower and release the protection charms to flush the water out into the moat with the stonefish. The winged lion rushed out the door as well and flapped into the sky, roaring with delight. and as they watched the former seagull fly south, Eleron very neatly put his hand around her waist, then reached inside his coat pocket. I saved a bit of that wishing water from the trash pit. She reached into her apron pocket.
Me too.
I purified and distilled mine with a salt stone after we trapped the lion downstairs. What did you use?
Oh, I boiled it in the kitchen while you were singing at the stones.
Very practical. Shall we wish?
You wish for exactly what you plan.
He tipped his little potion bottle against her flask. She smiled, blushing as she raised the flask to her lips, but waited for him. He did not wait, but announced confidently, I wish, if there is true love in Livy's heart for me, let her tell it to me, and let it grow threefold when I tell her about the true love in mine. He smiled and did not speak her wish out loud, but sipped her flask as he did, then smacked her lips and said,
I love you. That was surprisingly refreshing.
Livy seemed shocked at the words that had passed her lips, then grinned widely. He tisked his lips together to chase away the taste and made her wait. Oh, and I love you too. I knew it from the time I saw you in the shops. I used to daydream about asking you to come to dinner with me. Livy leaned forward and put her arms around his neck. He looked at her hands and her face coming nearer, but I never had the courage to.
Kiss me.
Even with her arms around his neck, he wasn't sure he would do it right. Not exactly the thing you can learn by practicing on yourself or in books, but she loved him, and he loved her, and it was a truish sort of love, so they pressed their lips together, a chaste little childish kiss. Her lips were soft and wet, and the most delicious thing he'd ever put against his mouth. He wasn't surprised that the rest of her tasted just as good when she parted her lips. Something fired through him, stronger and certainly more magical than he'd expected. He recognized the spell at work at once, burning away hesitation and shyness and replacing it with something that was very much its opposite. What did you wish for? Eleron asked, tightening his hand around her waist and drawing her in for another kiss. Not certain he could stop there, even if he wanted.
A good deal more than kisses.
Livy raised her brows, encouraging him not to stop.
Hiya, I'm LJ Longo.
And I'm Lane McLeod Jackson.
Honey,
And I'm Lane McLeod Jackson.
tales from the chaotic musings of your hosts, two love-struck creatives, Paperback Podcast unveils bi-monthly stories from an eclectic array of genres.
Here, we come out of our shells on the odd weeks of each month, hopefully to your delight and probably God's scorn.
Welcome and enjoy.